Hey, I'm John Paramore, and this is how to motivate your team. All right, so I'm going to talk to you guys today about the ways that I want you to consider and think about how to best motivate your team. Now, I'm going to tell you right out of the gate, any of you guys who are coming to watch this video and you're like, I want to learn how to motivate my team, one of the things I'm actually not going to show you how to do is how to motivate your team. And the reason for that is because I want you guys to think about some of the people that either work for you right now or have worked for you in the past that you've had to go to almost every single day to make sure they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're actually doing what you hired them to do. Now, I get it. Some of you guys are thinking to yourself, yeah, I'm basically a professional adult babysitter. I have to walk around, give people tasks, and then have to follow up with their ass and make sure that they're actually doing the work that I'm asking them to do. Now, what I want you to consider from that space is that not only is that an unmotivated person, but I want you to think about another word that actually fits that just a little bit better. It's an uninspired person. You have somebody on your team or somebody inside of your organization that lacks personal inspiration, meaning they're not trying to do anything big. They're not trying to do anything outside of basic fundamental tasks that essentially get them a check on Friday. So it doesn't matter how much you push that person, right? There's a book out there that's called Power versus Force. And inside that book, one of the concepts that they talk about is either using power or using force, empowering people to do work or forcing them either with fear or some type of financial reward to do some type of work. And I want you to consider one thing, okay? Inspired people do not need to be motivated. Inspired people do not need to be motivated because people who are inspired to actually do what you're asking them to do or to actually do the work that they know they actually need to do don't need motivation. They have internal motivation, which means they wake up every morning and they're like, hey, I have some big things that I want to create out of my life. I have some big targets that I want to reach. I have some big dreams that I'm working to create. I'm inspired by those things. I can see my own vision. I can see what I'm working to create, both for my family, financially, maybe for my health and fitness, maybe for other things outside of that, but I'm inspired by those things. I've actually taken time and written out the things that I'm working to create, and that's what inspires me. I've created maybe a vision board, and that's what inspires me. So because I'm inspired, I'm also motivated. I'm motivated by my own inspiration, and that means when my alarm clock goes off in the morning, I'm motivated to get out of bed. When it comes down to making choices about what I'm going to eat during the day, I'm motivated to make better choices based on my own inspiration of things that I actually want to create. So here's what I want you to consider when you think about how do I motivate my team? Are you trying to get people motivated to create your goal? Are you trying to get them motivated to create your targets? Are you trying to get them motivated to create your financial success? Or are they clear on what they want to create? Are they inspired by what they want to create? And essentially you're coming in and just helping them see a pathway to create what they're inspired to create on their own. Those types of people don't need to be motivated. They just don't. So if you got people on your team right now that you feel like you're constantly having to go and give attaboys to, or high fives to, or motivational speeches to get them to do fundamental, basic, foundational work that you hired them to do, it's because they lack inspiration. So I'm going to ask you to take a couple steps back. Let's find if we can actually get that person inspired. Ask them questions like, what do you want? What are you actually working to create? What are your dreams? What are your aspirations? What are your visions? What do you financially want to go after? What type of lifestyle do you want to live? That will get them to start thinking about those things, especially if you can then show them a pathway and help them to create those things. Those people are going to be more inspired. They're going to walk in with more energy. They're going to walk in with a little pep in their step. You're not going to have to follow up with them on a regular basis. You're not going to have to try to manipulate motivation to get them to do the work. They're just going to want to do it because they see it not only as a financial gain for you, but a financial gain for them. Not only for a win for you, but a win for them. Not only for a win for them, but a win for their family and all the stuff they're working to create. So as long as they can see that further down the path, you don't have to motivate those types of people. One of the questions you might be asking yourself is, how do I recognize an uninspired person on my team? How do I recognize somebody that I'm constantly having to motivate and I can tell that they're just uninspired? Easily done, okay? bring your team in, bring everybody into the conference room and have a meeting and start asking people, what are you working to build? What do you want to create? What do you want out of your life? What do you want to build? What kind of legacy are you working to leave your family, your kids, so on and so on? What are you really working to create? The question that I always go to that's easiest for most people to answer once they actually sit down and think about it is, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want out of your health and fitness? What do you want out of your self-development? What do you want out of your particular skill set, your relationship with your kids? What do you want out of your career? What do you want to create? Those types of questions asked to somebody who is not inspired or doesn't know those things, they're typically just going to kind of brush those under the rug and act like they're no big deal, right? They're going to, when you ask them, okay, let's actually do an exercise and get clear about what we want to create, they're going to kind of half-ass the assignment. Okay, so you're looking for certain mannerisms, postures, the way that people hold themselves, the way that their body language is when you ask them those types of questions. You want to specifically find out, are they actually going to dig deep and get clear about those things and be inspired by those things, or are they just actually going through the motions, writing things down to kind of pacify you? Again, you're back in the world of motivation. You can't motivate or force somebody to do work that they're unwilling to do because they don't see the value in that for themselves. So you need to understand it might not have anything to do with you as an organization. It might not have anything to do with you as a leader. It might have more to do with the fact that they don't see the value in themselves. They don't understand their capacity or ability. They don't understand their self-awareness and their willingness to go out and create the things that they actually desire, or they lack clarity and actually having a vision of what they actually want to create. So a lot of times we're also asked, should I give an incentive to my team? Listen, I'm going to tell you right out of the gate, one of the worst things that you can do is offer incentives in the world of mediocrity, right? If you're going to build incentives for your team, there needs to be a baseline of basic job function that they should execute just because they have the job inside of your organization. And then anything up over and above that should be what gets incentivized. But again, we're going back to the space of like, how do I motivate versus how do I inspire? Right? You don't need to offer incentives to inspired people, because inspired people understand, I have a dream, I have a vision, I have a clarity in what I'm working to create, and they're inspired to go be better, to create that stuff. And the byproduct of that is them making more money, because it basically means they're going to have to learn a different skill set. They're going to have to become a different human being in order to create the dream and the vision that they actually want to create. And that alone, when they do that, when they level themselves up, when they're inspired enough to level themselves up to be a better person, the benefit of that, or the backside of that, is a byproduct of them making more money, because they have a vision, they have clarity, they're inspired by it, they're already self-motivated by it. So they're going to become better than when you likely hired them, which then in turn, of course, you're going to want to reward these people because they're doing work that's up over and above the industry norm of what just the basic job function outlined in front of them is. So the biggest difference between having a team of motivated people versus inspired people is the motivated people typically are going to need to be more, kind of a crappy term, micromanaged. They're going to need more directive. They're going to need more follow-up. They're going to need more follow-through. They're going to need more time and energy and all the stuff that you as the owner, need to be putting toward growing your business. You're going to find that people on your team, you can give them directive, you can give them clarity, you can give them a direction, but they still lack the inspiration, meaning there's something much, much bigger than just the direction and the directive that you give them. They know that, hey, I'm working to create this big thing, this big vision, this big dream over here. I'm more inspired by this than I am the directive that I'm being given over here. So of course, I'm going to execute the fundamental basics that I have to without being told, without being followed up on or whatever, because of my own dreams and my own aspirations and what I'm working to create. Somebody who is inspired is doing it more for them, and the byproduct is you're getting the result, but it's for them. Somebody who quote unquote is motivated, they don't understand the inspiration side of it. So you feel like you're constantly having to push them forward. You're constantly having to remind them of certain things. You're constantly having to take the energy and effort that you should be putting in growing the business and putting it into them. And so what I want you to consider is you can also, there's a fine line. You can take people who are currently motivated and get them to see inspiration by asking them the questions that need to be asked. But what you can't do is somebody who lacks inspiration, who just doesn't want to see something bigger. You can't grow your business with motivated people that you constantly have to micromanage by pushing and pulling and pushing and pulling all day long. All right, so what we need you guys to do, just like every single time, is we need you to like this video so the algorithms will keep pushing this video out and you guys get to see more and more and more of this type of content. We need you to comment. If you have questions, put your comments inside, or the questions inside the comment section, and I'll come back and answer these later on. And then I need you to do one last thing, which is subscribe. By subscribing, you say, hey, John, I want to be part of this. I want you to keep pushing this type of content out, and I'll certainly do that for you.